Engaging the community since 1970. This is WIS Awareness.
Good morning, and thanks for joining us for Awareness on this Sunday. I'm your host, Leland Pender. In the midst of this coronavirus pandemic, there is an effort to capture and document the experiences and stories of African Americans affected by COVID-19. The South Carolina African American Heritage Commission says they're looking to shape the historical record of this historic pandemic. Our state did not capture the African American perspective of the Spanish flu of 1918, and folks don't want that event or this event to come and go in the same way. So with more on this morning, I'll be joined by two guests, and the first is Michael Allen, a historian from the Lowcountry and community partnership specialist and a legacy member of the South Carolina African American Heritage Commission. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning to you, Leland, and thank you for the opportunity to be with you today.
Yes, absolutely. Glad to have you. So let's talk about this project. It's called Black Carolinians Speak, Portraits of a Pandemic. Kind of tell us how this all came about.
Well, as you shared in your introduction, we know from history that in 1918, 1919, a serious pandemic visited the United States, and a lot of death and destruction came as a result of it. And in this state, we know it was adversely affected. And so, ironically, what brought this together is that I was standing in line, to provide, supplies, material, food for my family at Sam's here in North Charleston. And as I was standing in line with my mask on and my gloves on, 6 foot from the person ahead of me and behind me, a part of my brain said, this looks like history. In fact, it was standing in a line to actually enter into a store that we normally would not have to. And then another part of me said, this is also humanity. The fact that, there's a human toll that's being taken, the fact that we have to venture out in this manner. And so as I got closer to the front door and got in the inside and was able to secure what I needed, as I was leaving, I said, this looks like a project, an opportunity for the South Carolina African American Heritage Commission to be able to capture the experiences, the emotions, and the challenges that African Americans have faced and are facing during the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020. And so that's kind of how this is the genesis, I guess you can say, of Black Carolinians Speak. I then reached out to Ms. Janie Harrod, the chair of the executive committee. I shared with her my thoughts about my experience, my emotional experience, historical interpretation of this. She thought it was a laudable idea and asked me to check with some other historians and community folks, which I did. Dr. Bobby Donaldson at USC, Dr. Larry Watson at SC State University, Dr. Bernard Powers as a part of the International African American Museum. And after speaking to all those men, a number of other people, I felt in my heart and my spirit that this is something that the African American Heritage Commission needed to do in order to leave a legacy and awareness and an understanding for future generations when they look back to 2020.
And now tell me or tell us this morning, give us some insight onto why it's so important to capture specifically the African American voice right now during this event. Wouldn't the regular public record suffice? Why or why not?
Well, this week, the South Carolina African American Heritage Commission celebrated its 27th year of being in existence. And for 27 years, we have been assisting African Americans with historic markers, National Register nominations, historic preservation projects. Looking back, I believe the goal and objective of this endeavor is to look forward. When we began to look and trace African American history and culture in the state, this region, and our nation, often there are gaps. There are areas in which you really don't have documentation. And when I conferred with the Department of Archives and History and asked them about what was in their collection reflecting the African American experience from 1918, and the response that I received was very little or probably really nothing of substantive matter, I knew that mistake, what happened in 1918 and the effects on African Americans in the state, which were the majority of the state's population, if that was not documented then, we could not allow that to happen now. And so that's, the historic reason, the functional reasons why Black Carolinians Speak is moving forward and doing the things that it's doing now in order to capture the voices of African Americans across the state of South Carolina.
And give us some more insight, going back to the 1918 flu pandemic. Why weren't the stories of African Americans captured at that time during that event? Of course, what challenges were in place that prevented that? And how does that compare to today, actually?
Well, I think you have to look at the history of the state of South Carolina, how African Americans had been treated and were treated. We were probably 4 or 5 decades away from the Civil War, the ending of slavery. And so, you have to realize that African Americans probably in 1918, 1919 were not really looked at in a way that could capture their experience, and it was ignored. The fact, when I asked that question and the response that I got, and knowing that the majority of Carolinians were of color, there should have been something in it that reflected that. But be that as it may, we know that African Americans today are disproportionately affected by COVID-19. The most recent statistic shows that the majority of individuals in our state at the present time that have been afflicted by this disease are African Americans. The majority of individuals that are living that were afflicted by the disease that have died are African Americans. Mm-hmm. And so when we look at the statistics, we look at the disproportionality of how African Americans are being affected. And when I looked at what we as an organization is responsible for, this responsibility, this challenge, this need falls on the shoulders of the South Carolina African American Heritage Commission. And that's why we are passionate about this. And we want as many African American citizens across the entire state of South Carolina to participate in this endeavor. And I can say thus far, we've had great participation, great support, but there's always more miles to travel. And so
absolutely,
that's why we're here with you this morning to share this with you.
And thank you so much for sharing with us this morning. Mr. Allen, thank you for joining us. How can you participate? What are they looking for at the South Carolina African American Heritage Commission? We'll take a look at these graphics here just to give you a quick idea as we head to break. We'll delve more into that part of this great project when we come back. Again, thank you, Mr. Allen, for joining us.
And thank you, too.
At Sugar Creek Amish Furniture, you'll find one of the largest selections of handcrafted, American-made Amish furniture in the state. Save 15% on solid wood dining room, bedroom, living room, and outdoor furniture during our Memorial Day sale. Save 15% on in-stock and custom orders now through Monday, May 25th. Trusted craftsmanship, natural beauty, awesome selection, and great pricing. Sugar Creek Amish Furniture, located at 1270 Bauer Parkway in Columbiana Station Shopping Center.
In the last year, there were 3 victims of cybercrime every second. When a criminal has your personal information, they can do all sorts of things in your name. Criminals can use ransomware, spyware, or malware to gain access to information, like your name, your birthday, and even your social security number.
That's why Norton and LifeLock are now part of one company, providing an all-in-one membership for your cyber safety that gives you identity theft protection, device security, a VPN for online privacy, and more. And if you have an identity theft problem, we'll work to fix it with our $1 million protection package.
There are new cyber threats out there every day. So protecting yourself isn't a one-time job, it's an ongoing need. Now is the time to make sure that you have the right plan in place. Don't wait.
Norton 360 with LifeLock. Use promo code GET25 to save 25% off your first year and get a free shredder with annual membership. Call now to start your membership or visit lifelock.com/TV.
Throughout South Carolina, you see it. Business is growing and companies are finding the tools, resources, and partnerships to thrive. For 30 years, SCMEP has equipped small and medium-sized manufacturers with the resources to grow. Whether you need workforce development, continuous improvement, or supply chain optimization, we're here. With SCMEP, you have a partner that provides innovative strategies. Because in South Carolina, the future is now. Make the future yours at scmep.org.
All right, and welcome back this morning. Thanks for staying with us. I'm now joined by Dr. RAMON Jackson. He is the African American Heritage Coordinator at the South Carolina Department of Archives and History. Good morning, Dr. Jackson.
Hey, good morning to you.
Thank you for joining us today to talk more about this project, Black Carolinians Speak, Portraits of a Pandemic. To begin, kind of tell us more about your background and your role in this project.
Well, I've been at Archives and History for roughly a year or so now. I'm the African American Heritage Coordinator. Long story short, my job is basically to help coordinate exhibits, lectures, public programming, outreach, historic preservation, anything that we were thinking about ways that we could develop a project like this after Michael Allen, who you may have spoken to, shared a story about his visit to a local Costco where, most of the folks who were in line, social distanced, wearing masks, were African American. And so it dawned on him to suggest that we start collecting stories and testimonies of African Americans around the state to give future researchers and the citizen of our state some idea about, what it's like to be Black during this public health crisis.
Absolutely. Now, give us an idea of what exactly you're looking for and how people can be a part of this if they would like. What will this look like?
Well, right now, anyone that would like to participate can visit our website, www.greenbookofsc.com/speak. There they will see a web portal where they can upload documents, images, music, artwork, anything that really represents how they're going through this pandemic. We would even accept screenshots of social media posts. So if you have a tweet or a series of tweets that you want to share, simply snip and clip, create JPEGs, drop those in. We would take videos that are self-made. So we want this to be as authentic a representation of the Black experience across the state as we possibly can get. So that's the more formal side of things. Informally, we would ask that, if you're not comfortable speaking with us, because we have a prompt on the website where you can request an oral history interview, we would ask that you talk to one another. If you want to film it, get it on video, share it with us. That would be a part of our collection as well. So we want to make this as user-friendly and easy as possible, and I think we've done that. But we also want to give people a chance to speak for themselves because, again, our job is simply to collect and archive this information for folks to look at down the road. And so we want to give people a chance to express themselves, say what they feel, share how they're dealing with this. Because everybody is handling this in different ways. And I think it's important for future researchers and for politicians and others to get a sense of how Black citizens in South Carolina are impacted by this crisis.
Absolutely. And of course, don't forget to write things down. If you do poetry or, do better when you write things down, write out your story and you can submit that to you all for this project. Of course,
absolutely.
Of course, African Americans, represent many different parts and sectors of our population, whether it's those frontline workers, people who have been affected by being out of work or medical professionals, so many facets to that. Is there any particular stories that you are especially looking for? All stories, of course, are important to this project, but any one or two that you really, really want to get that perspective?
Traditionally, when you have these sorts of public history projects, you often get to hear from, the well-to-do in society, the folks who are handling particular historic events very well. Your politicians, your lawyers, etc. We would like those stories, but we're more interested for this project in the story of the fast food worker who is dealing with these public health issues while on the job. Your gig workers who are struggling with economic distress and the lack of a customer base because of social distancing. Healthcare workers who are on the front lines dealing with this, whether here in South Carolina or, as we've heard from some participants and probably we'll hear from future participants, those folks who left South Carolina to go to New York or L.A. or other hotspots around the country to lend a hand. So, these are the kinds of stories that we're really interested in. And then also young people. it's not often in these collections that you get to hear the voices of children and youth. How are they dealing with this crisis? I have a 1-year-old daughter, and so, I'm juggling a lot of different things, being a historian, running a project like this. But most importantly, I'm a dad. And while she's only, 1.5, she's starting to catch on to the fact that we're the only people she sees every day. When we phone Nani and Poppy, she sees them on the screen, but then, eventually she kind of looks at us and kind of goes, well, when are they going to come here? I haven't seen them in 2 months. So, these are the types of stories that we want. We really want to capture the fullness of this experience, and the full range of emotions that people are experiencing. And I think, by collecting this information, it can inform historians, but then maybe it might even inform some public policy down the road to help prevent something like this in the future, or at least mitigate its impact on underrepresented communities.
Dr. Jackson, we're going to pop up a graphic really quickly here as we head to break. And while that is airing, I want you to describe one more time for us how we can be a part of this and where to access the information to participate.
Yeah, absolutely. You can visit our website on the Green Book of South Carolina. That's www.greenbookofsc.com/speak. All of the instructions are laid out on the web portal there.
All right. Thank you so much. There's a second one there. Questions, maybe documents that are oversized. There's the contact to get that information to the African American Heritage Commission. And as he just said, the website right there on the bottom, greenbookofsc.com/speak. A quick break. We'll be right back.
Support your local business and enjoy sweet treats. Tiffany's Eat Sweets and Meeting Place is still open for lunch. Ordering is as easy as calling ahead and drive by to pick up. Also, fill your growler with what's on tap. Tiffany's, open for lunch and open for you.
I'm a member of American Home Shield, which means this faucet may be freaking out, but I'm not.
All good here.
Something's wrong with my AC. It's blowing pretty hard and won't turn off. Luckily, I'm a member of American Home Shield. My plan helps cover the cost when parts of more than 20 home appliances and systems wear out. If they can't repair them, they'll replace them.
American Home Shield is the largest and pays the most home warranty claims.
It covers things home insurance doesn't, no matter their age. It's a beautiful day.
I've never felt so good. Give American Home Shield a call to find the right plan for you.
800-729-4191. That's 800-729-4191. Hey, Janice!
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms.
Attention cancer victims who use the weed killer Roundup. A federal jury unanimously found that Monsanto's popular weed killer Roundup was a substantial factor in causing cancer. You may be entitled to financial compensation. If you or a loved one used Roundup weed killer and were diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, call the number on your screen now.
Call 800-671-1488.
Support your local business and enjoy sweet treats. Tiffany's Eat Sweets and Meeting Place is still open for lunch. Ordering is as easy as calling ahead and drive by to pick up. Also, fill your growler with what's on tap. Tiffany's, open for lunch and open for you.
All right, welcome back this morning. Let's head back out to Dr. Ramon Jackson of the South Carolina Department of Archives and History, talking about this great project, Black Carolinians Speak, Portraits of a Pandemic. Dr. Jackson, tell us how you all are promoting this project and getting the word out, and is there a window of time that people have to participate?
So we're trying to cover our bases with all of the online and traditional media. Our main emphasis right now has been through social media, our Facebook and Twitter pages, especially. You can follow us on both of those pages at SCAAHC 1993. So that's Twitter and Facebook. Please feel free to follow us, share our information, share news about the project. We're also going to be kind of providing folks with some insight into what's being shared with us fairly soon. So there are several participants who have agreed to allow us to share their stories, and hopefully it'll start a conversation. We really want to get people talking, sharing their experiences, because, this lockdown has been traumatic for many folks. A number of the testimonies that we received have really just brought forth a lot of the frustration and angst that folks are dealing with right now. And so, it's best to get that out, to let the public know what's going on, and hopefully it will inform some of the decisions that are being made by local and state leaders. We plan to collect these stories through October, but, as you know, we sometimes will do follow-up interviews, with folks that have participated. And we really want to kind of track the progress of how folks are kind of changing in terms of their thoughts about the virus and its impact. So we'll probably be collecting these stories for the foreseeable future. But for the time being, we're saying October will be the kind of final date that we will accept solicitations.
And kind of give us an idea of what the end goal will be with this project. Are we looking at an exhibit at a museum, or maybe a documentary, or what will happen with all this information that you collect?
Well, I mean, if we continue at the pace that we're going and with the kind of submissions that we're receiving, this stands to be one of the more unique collections at the South Carolina Department of Archives and History for future researchers, citizens, students to develop their own projects. We also have had some conversations with folks at the University of South Carolina, because they're conducting their own project here fairly soon. And so maybe there might be some opportunities for collaboration along those lines. And we definitely plan to have some public programming at the archives in the near future around this issue, because we want to give some of our participants and others an opportunity to have a dialogue, to really kind of give folks a perspective of what's happened to our communities around the state. So we definitely foresee some finished products, but for right now, our goal is to really just create a repository of information about the Black experience on as far as this public health crisis is concerned.
And collecting all that information, kind of tell us why such a large volume of material is good when kind of documenting the archival record on a pandemic or any big issue like this.
Yeah, sure. One of the things we found when we started kind of toying with this idea is that there was very little information about the impact of the Spanish flu, the 1918 epidemic, on African Americans across the state. We spoke with the lead archivist at Archives and History, and he shared with us what was available, and it fit in an email. A couple of attachments with some book chapters, a few lists here or there, but for the most part, you really don't get a kind of on the ground, minute by minute, examples of what it was like to be Black during that pandemic. So a collection like this is extremely important. And hopefully it'll set the trend for future instances like this, because I'm not sure if anyone collected this type of information on the Great Flood that we experienced. But, all of these moments shape our society and impact different people in different ways. And unless we really investigate and share these testimonies, you really can come out with some skewed narratives about what's going on. Mm-hmm. So we want to make sure that the truth is out there, it's in our archive, and that folks have an opportunity to research and continue questioning what's going on.
All right, and real quickly, last question here. You mentioned the floods of 2015 there. I think that's what you were referring to. Does the commission...
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Does the commission plan to kind of pursue this kind of project for any other kind of once-in-a-lifetime event that we experience at all?
It's possible, but some of the other projects that we've kind of laid out as part of the broader Black Carolinians Speak Oral History Initiative. We're thinking about a collection related to the South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus and its history. We're thinking about perhaps building a repository of oral histories connected to historic spaces that have been commemorated through historical marker and National Register programs. We're also considering a collection specifically focused on the families and proprietors of Green Book businesses, because again, our website is the Green Book of South Carolina, so it would be great to have a virtual historical tour featuring individuals, families, proprietors of those former businesses that were listed in that very important and popular travel guide. So, there are a lot of ways that oral history can help inform us about the past, and we think the commission is well suited and well placed to contribute to that and build a unique collection at Archives and History that's unparalleled anywhere else.
Certainly. Dr. Jackson, thank you so much for joining us this morning here on Awareness, and we hope a lot of folks will see this and want to participate, of course. And let's pop up that graphic for you one more time. Wanted to show this a couple of times throughout the show so you could see it and jot it down if you needed to. Just a few of the ways you can participate in this great project, Black Carolinians Speak, Portraits of a Pandemic. Dr. Jackson, once again, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank y'all for having me, and we look forward to seeing what you guys submit and continue to share your conversations with one another as well.
We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm a local business owner here in Columbia. Our Main Street restaurants, the Grand on Main, Main Course, and Good Life Cafe are here to serve you. It's important to support local, now more than ever. With our family's background in healthcare and hospitality, our top priority has always been to keep you safe, healthy, and happy. Main Street Columbia is filled with incredible food and inviting atmosphere with to-go options and sunny outdoor seating. Come out and support local at the Grand on Main, Main Course, and Good Life Cafe.
Hi, Joe Namath here, and like you, I'm at home staying safe. But I wanted to get this message out. To make these uncertain times a bit easier and safer while at home, Medicare Advantage plans have added new benefits, including telephone appointments with your doctors, in-home aids, home-delivered meals, home-delivered prescriptions, and so much more. But you don't get all the benefits automatically. You need to enroll. The easiest way to enroll is to call the Medicare Coverage Helpline. It's now more important than ever to make sure your Medicare coverage is up to date. We all have a few minutes to make a phone call to focus on our health. Get what you're entitled to. Call now. It's free.
Call 1-800-973-1161. That's 1-800-973-1161 now.
Do you see this room? During the week, it's the place that keeps me calm. I'm usually on the go Monday through Friday, and by the time I get home, I need a place to relax. But on weekends, instead of my sunroom, I just call it my son's room. A lot of love goes in an Architect sunroom. Call Architect of Central South Carolina today and schedule a free consultation with one of our personal design consultants.
My thanks again to Dr. Jackson and Michael Allen for sharing more with us this morning about Black Carolinians Speak, Portraits of a Pandemic, trying to capture the Black experience during this once-in-a-lifetime event we're all facing. Hope you have a great rest of your Sunday. And as always, thanks for joining us here on Awareness.
Are you